Hi guys, and welcome to All My Novel Ideas. This is Sharon. Today we're going to be looking at the Hobonichi release of the HON. This came out December 1st, 2022, and I ordered it back then. I also filmed this video back then when my package arrived, so when you notice some Christmas decorations later on in the video, this is your warning on that. This will be my 4th year in the A6 size by Hobonichi. I previously have used the Japanese edition twice in the Techo and the English edition once. I did not like the English edition. I really prefer the smaller grid pattern in the Techo and the HON than I did in the English, which is 5mm grid, and in the Techo it's 4, I believe. As you can see, I got the bunnies and bow ties edition. This is the Zodiac year release. I have to admit I didn't realize that until more recently when I was watching someone else's video. Last year when they released the Tiger edition for the weeks, I was confused. I found the Tiger edition very cute, and now that I realize it was for the Zodiac, it makes a lot more sense to me. I didn't get the bunny edition in the weeks because I told myself when I got my first weeks that I would have to stick to a neutral palette because I know how finicky I can get throughout the year. Because if I picked, say the bright yellow one, I figured by 6 months in I'd be like, time to change. And you can't change because it's a whole year. So I've stuck with the plaid edition, but I almost bought the bunny edition. So when they released it as the HON, I was like, yep, I'm getting that cover because it was my favorite cover they released of the 4 different color ways they had. And also I just kind of liked the idea that if they do the HON again next year, they might release another Zodiac, and I do kind of like keeping my covers relatively similar to each other. So now we're going to try putting the HON in some different leather covers that I own, which, sorry, that rhymed. We'll be trying it out in a Moterm from 2020 and 2 Vanderspecs. The first Vanderspec is also from 2020, and the newer Vanderspec is from 2021. So if you've bought any of these planners since, I don't know if the sizing has changed, so bear with me with that, but you'll get an idea here if it fits in to any of these older edition covers. I also want to make note that the HON, I believe, was made with a sturdier cover, so it's supposed to take wear better. So you don't need a cover for it. I don't have anything but a clear cover on my weeks, but I already own these, and my journal generally stays at home anyway, so it doesn't usually get that beat up or torn around. And I kind of would just like to keep it in one of my pretty covers that I have. So we're going to test it, but not saying you need to get one, just letting you know if you were worried of putting it in one, here's what it'll look like. So here's where that Christmas warning came into effect. As you can see, my Moterm was all decorated for Christmas. I actually just keep this planner decorated like that. I did it 2 years ago or so, and it kind of just, I keep it like that because I only use the red one in December generally. So yeah, I'm sorry for anyone who is now triggered by the Christmas decorations, but I figured I would still keep the footage in. Now any Moterms you have will have a little secretarial flap, so that's always an option to put in. You can see that it does lift up the leather a bit in the corner. But you can still use your Moterms, everything fits nicely in when you just slide it into the secretarial flap there. As you can see, the HON is about 5 millimeters taller than the original A6 in a clear cover. If you currently have your A6 housed in a leather cover and you're not sure if a HON would fit in, then this is the difference in height that you might require. So now we're going to put it in my 2022 Vanderspec cover. This is just a standard A6 Codex. On the outside it was Totora Croc, and on the inside it is Janet Leather Olive. And you can see it's just the standard layout with the 6 card slots and the 2 slip pockets. There's hardly any difference in room between the Moterm and the Vanderspec, so you shouldn't really expect a different result. But I found that there was maybe half a millimeter extra give between the Moterm and the VDS. So the HON slid into the VDS much easier than it did into the Moterm. And you can close it and everything's fine. But you can see that it is lifting up on the leather there, so I would imagine with use it would wear down those stitches at that point. It was easier to take out of the VDS than it was the Moterm pocket too. Now for my custom Vanderspec. So I had this one made in 2021, and I did widen the overall planner, but I didn't heighten it, so I'm not sure if their standard sizing increased or not. But it seems to be that my custom is about a millimeter or so taller than the standard VDS I have, which adds for more room to spare for the HON to go in. You can see that my custom VDS has a slip pocket on both sides and then a secretarial on the front. It's basically similar to the Nomad layout, I believe. So the HON slides quite easily into this VDS cover. I would imagine with time it'll probably stretch the leather a bit, but it doesn't seem to be really pulling at any of the stitching, at least not yet. And then for anyone who has a VDS cover with a secretarial pocket, well, that would be the way that wouldn't stretch out your leather as much. So we'll try it in there. And to shake test it, for the open shake test, it stays in pretty well, barely moves. And then for the closed shake test, it really doesn't come out, and I was trying very hard to make it. I would say because the whole book is basically slipped into the secretarial versus in the Moterm it's just a corner, you have a lot more reliance in, you can rely on it a lot more that it'll stay within the planner cover. Okay, so now we're going to look at the pencil board that comes with the HON, and we're going to test out some different pens to see what will fit in the pen loop attached to it. As you can see, the typical Techo A6 writing board that you can buy is the same size as the one they provide, obviously. Now this pen loop is made out of plastic, and it does not stretch, at least not with what I've tried so far. It's not super flimsy, but I would be aware that I feel like you could tear it quite easily. So I first tried it with a Zebra click art pen that would not fit in. Then I tried a Tombow dual brush that would also not fit in. I tried a Uni Style Fit 4-barrel, also too large, and then I also tried a Sakura jelly roll. And the jelly roll, I could just get it in. I think you could push it all the way through, but you would have to use quite a bit of force. So I would say the upper end of the pen loop's limit is a 6 to 7 millimeter diameter pen. It fit a standard Bic mechanical pencil in really easily with room to spare. I then clipped on my TWSBI Mini to the pen loop, and I found that it was hooked on quite well, even with some shaking. If you were going to travel with a fountain pen on you inside of your HON, I would just be aware of it though. I would say any unusual force would probably wedge it off of the pen loop. I clipped a Sarasa Dry Vintage to it, and also with a lot of force, it didn't come loose, so take that with a grain of salt. I tried a Kaweco Sport because I know it's a very popular fountain pen currently, and it definitely falls off. That clip is not strong enough nor tight enough to not slide loose from the pen loop, so I wouldn't suggest clipping your Kaweco to that, nor do I think most people would. As you can see, I'm starting my setup now of the HON. I think it's nice that it came with ribbon bookmarks, but I generally hate ribbon bookmarks and I don't use them. So I often tape them to the back cover because I don't want to cut them out, just because I don't want to cut something else by accident. So this is basically the start of my setup for the HON for 2023. I'll now just do a quick flip of what comes inside the HON. If you've ever seen a standard Hobonichi A6 Techo, then you would have seen what it looks like. But if you haven't, you're welcome to stay and watch as I flip. And then because I always forget, I counted out how many notes pages come in the back, and it comes with 15 blank grid pages. To anyone who's still watching, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be uploading my setup of the HON in a couple of days, and there'll be a quick flip also if you don't want to sit through that, because it'll probably be very long. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!